Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. A prominent California doctor and his wife were fatally shot and killed outside of their home, allegedly by their own son.
The whole neighborhood and community is in shock right now.
Disbelief after a prominent Simi Valley couple was gunned down in a targeted attack outside their home Sunday around noon.
I didn't hear the gunshots. My son did. He was upstairs and the window was open, so he heard the gunshots and then looked out the window and saw the car speeding away, a black little Honda Civic.
Longtime friend Michael Hilton was one of several neighbors who rushed in to help the couple, now identified as Dr. Eric Cordes and his wife Vicki.
There wasn't a whole lot anybody could do. I think the shooter did what he set out to do very quickly.
Simi Valley police now connecting that shooter to a suicide investigation in Chino after police responded to a vehicle fire around 2:30 Sunday. This social media video capturing intense flames and thick black smoke pouring from the car in the parking lot of Ayala Park as onlookers stood by.
The vehicle was fully engulfed, and the subject that was found near the vehicle was also burned. But we're unable to substantiate who that suspect is due to the condition of the subject that was located in Chino.
Police also recovering a firearm and today saying they're cautious about speculation that the suspect was a stepson of one of the victims.
We don't want to misidentify someone, so we're waiting until we get confirmation from the medical examiner to see who that was in that vehicle.
As the investigation continues, Dr. Cordes' employer, Adventist Health Simi Valley, released a statement praising his work, saying it was a, quote, highly respected board-certified radiologist and beloved physician who served this community with compassion and excellence for nearly 30 years. Our hearts are with his family, friends, and all who had the privilege of working alongside him as we grieve this shocking loss.
He respected people. Super nice guy. It's just hard to believe that it happened. I'm still in shock.
Now, according to reports, Dr. Eric Cordes and his wife Vicki Schiller allegedly were coming home to their $1.3 million mansion where they were ambushed by Kenneth Cordes' son, Keith Cordes, who drove all the way from Kentucky to California to confront his father. And as he confronted his father and his stepmother in the garage of Dr. Cordes' home, this is where Keith Cordes allegedly took the life of his father and his mother by shooting and killing his father and his stepmother inside of that garage. Now, after taking the life of his father and his stepmother, this is where Keith Cordes allegedly then fled the scene of the death of his father and drove to the town of Chino, 70 miles away, set his car on fire, and then fatally took his own life. Now, the police in California are seeing this as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the alleged disturbing behavior of Keith Cordes, it definitely fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And it's clear to me that Keith Cordes possibly was a man in crisis for an extended period of time, and during that extended period of time was possibly simmering and boiling in anger over the divorce of his parents. And as he was simmering and boiling in anger over the divorce of his parents, that anger basically drove Keith Cordes to the point where he looked to drive 3,000 miles across the country to go out here and exact revenge possibly on his father for leaving his mother, and possibly this was the motive for him looking to murder his father, going all the way from Kentucky to California to confront his father over this possible divorce. Because like I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis, as related to divorce, divorce has a real significant impact on many young men, and this can lead to a beta male basically winding up simmering and boiling in anger, especially if he's been given a lot of misinformation by the mother and also possibly been neglected by the father. If the boy basically is sitting there with his mother who gets custody of the boy could wind up getting programmed with a lot of misinformation regarding his father, and that could possibly lead to the boy winding up looking to be angry at his father regarding things that possibly weren't true. And that possibly could be the thing that motivated Keith Cordes to basically leave his state of Kentucky, where he had been a resident of, to go all the way to California. It could have been that he was basically holding a grudge against his father as related to him abandoning him. Now, a lot of people will think, oh, a kid like this shouldn't have been holding and harboring all this anger. But when it comes to kids, a lot of times they basically, again, are angry because their father isn't in their life, and that whole situation can wind up getting exacerbated by a mother who goes out here and alienates that child from the parent, and that could further wind up being exacerbated by a father who isn't physically or emotionally available for that son, because in the case of Eric Cordes, he was possibly living a high life in California and enjoying his life, and that possibly burned up Keith Cordes, who was possibly living a different life in Kentucky. His father was an acclaimed radiologist who was living very well, enjoying life with his spin class wife who had a fit body, and this was possibly the thing that made this man simmer and boil in anger regarding the state of his father living and enjoying his life, while he basically wasn't able to enjoy his life because he wasn't able to have a relationship with his father. Yes, his father possibly did pay child support and things like that, but a lot of times when it comes to kids want to get their emotional needs met. They want to have a relationship with their father, and sadly, that's the thing that many parents didn't understand during the days of the 1970s and 1980s, basically, and the 1990s, didn't understand that kids basically do need their fathers in their lives. They need their fathers in their lives, and they want to have that relationship with their fathers. And when that relationship winds up getting strained, what that leads to that male feeling, again, is a lot of, frustration and anger. Frustration and anger at that parent. And as they feel that frustration and anger at that parent, this is where they want to go out here and look to lash out at the world. And that's what this man wanted to do before he infamously wound up ending his life. Now, this man basically possibly felt like he had nothing to live for due to the traumas he had endured. As related to this divorce, because divorce does a lot of damage to children, and a lot of children just don't get over those feelings of, again, seeing their parents separate and leave each other. Some of these kids don't really get over this stuff, and that's possibly what happened here with Keith Cordes. He possibly never got over the traumas that he had to endure, possibly seeing his parents at each other's throats, and even worse, seeing his mother basically move halfway across the country. All of that basically was stuff that he was holding a lot of anger about and possibly hadn't worked out even in his adulthood. And as he hadn't worked all this stuff out, again, that's what led to this man becoming a ticking time bomb, while his father was out here like many boomer parents, enjoying his life, getting his and not caring. He didn't see the damage he was doing to his millennial son, who was basically, again, sitting here seething in anger because he basically saw his whole life fall completely apart. And that's basically showing, again, the generations as related to things. The boomers, again, a lot of times don't think about their children. No, they're thinking, oh, I'm about getting mine. But the whole thing is, this boy, since he couldn't get his emotional needs met, decided to go out here and get revenge. That possibly could be the motive for this man looking to murder his father. As related to this whole incident, it could have been a case of a boy basically feeling like as he grew up into manhood, feeling like his life was in complete turmoil because he didn't have that relationship with his father and was dealing with the bitterness of his mother. And that bitterness that he inherited from his mother basically turned him into a violent man who felt like he had nothing to lose. And as that man felt like he had nothing to lose, that's where this man became a man in crisis, who basically went out here and took the life of his own father and his stepmother, took the life of his father and his stepmother, then looked to take his own life because he felt like life wasn't worth living anymore. And again, this is what the sad road that boys who grow up with divorce possibly wind up dealing with. And again, since there's nobody there to give them guidance, what happens with boys like this, again, is that their anger winds up consuming them. And as their anger winds up consuming them, they look to destroy the world of those who they believe caused all their pain. And that's what I believe happened here with this situation with Eric Cordes. I believe what happened here with Eric Cordes is, sadly, he wound up having to deal with a son who basically was not given guidance as a man. And as he wasn't given guidance as a man, he became a man in crisis. And he wound up again becoming a man in crisis, who wound up taking the life of his father, in one of the worst ways. But the worst thing to hear is that it shows the damage that is done to a child who basically doesn't have their father in their lives. What happens is those boys, because they grow up without a man, wind up becoming a ticking time bomb, and eventually they wind up exploding and destroying the lives of all those possibly around them. Now, if you want to learn more about the dysfunctional behavior of beta males, to identify that behavior and possibly help someone in your life, or avoid an individual who is toxic like this, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me make more videos talking about The Man Crisis, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA from the Black Boule in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.